What's happening, everybody? It's Sean, joined by my son, Trey. But it's not reactions to the classics today. It's the NBA channel for us, guys. You're probably watching this if you're a regular watcher of our channel and going, what are you guys doing? You're the music guys. Actually, for me at least, the only thing I know more about than music is the NBA, bar none. I don't know which one you would claim you know more about, Trey.
Probably music, but then NBA's right there, man.
And he knows more than music about than I do. So, but what qualifies us? You may ask to give a top 100 players for the upcoming 2022-23 season. Well, tell you what, I've coached for 32 years, played at a high level, but more importantly, we watch NBA every single night.
League Pass.
I've had the League Pass
staple
since 1997. I literally watch basketball every single night. I'm blessed enough to understand it at a high level. I read about everything there is to read from the more analytic guys. I listen to the podcast from the more analytic guys. So I believe I've seen every one of these guys play a ton and dove into the stats. So that's kind of where we come to this list. And we went over the recent ESPN rank. We went over it last year, Trey, so we got to do one of these lists, but it's very time consuming. And with all the stuff, we have over 2,000 videos up right now of all music. So it might be our first NBA video, but rest assured if it's your first time joining us, it's not our first video, but we decided to dive into it. There's going to be a lot more NBA content. The music stuff is still going to be every bit as much as there was. There's just going to be separate NBA content. I might create another channel for that on down the line.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm looking forward to this, as with any list, Dad. We've experienced it in our various music list, right? It always sparks discussion. Why is this guy this
we've
high?
done it
Why
ourselves
is this guy,
on these. Yeah, it's like
not here? And where's this? There were a couple notable guys where we were like, these person weren't even on the ESPN 100 list. So this is going to be fun. And what do we got? We got some rules to
we got just a couple rules. Look, we're not going to have any rookies on here. And I know a lot of us have the rookies. It's just like, look, man, Paolo Banchero may be awesome, right? Jabari Smith may be awesome. Chet Holmgren's not going to be awesome because he's not playing this year, but those guys may be awesome. But I don't know that. You don't know that. And no one really knows how they're going to plug in to the context of an NBA team. So they're not going to make this list. And then guys who are definitively injured, in this case, Lonzo Ball is the one guy that would have made this list at a decently high. I mean, not top 50, but a decently high. But he's out with a knee injury. Yeah. He's been out since January for surgery that's supposed to take 4 to 6 weeks for recovery. And he still can't walk upstairs or run. He just had a second procedure. I don't know if you're going to see him this year, guys, but definitely couldn't put him on this list.
Tough break for Chicago, who's looking to be pretty solid, I think, this year.
But, they are. And on that note, in about a week from the time that this goes up, we're going to put up a season preview as well. Speaking about
be sure
Chicago.
to hit that big red subscribe button if you haven't already, and if you'd like to see maybe an offshoot NBA channel, let us know in the comments too, man. If there's a lot of people, then hey, man, we're going to do it because, as Sean said, we know the NBA, baby. It's so fun to discuss. And
I love talking NBA more than I love talking anything else, guys. So we're going to dive into this list, and don't worry, I'm not going to give you a diatribe on each player. But Trey, we can just jump in here wherever we feel like we need to. But starting off this list at number 100, a guy that I've watched play a ton because I used to watch the Jazz all the time. Bojan Bogdanovic from the Pistons. Now he's with the Pistons. Last year, averaged 18 on 45% from the floor, 38 from three.
Yeah.
He is age 33, but he makes the list at 100.
He did well against our Mavs in
that
Utah series.
He did.
And we're going to keep with the Bogdanovic.
Yeah, very confusing.
Number 99, Bogdanovic, right? For the Hawks, again, pretty, vital player, I think, in their system. Gives them a lot of a punch offensively. Averaged 15 on a 43% from the field, 36 from downtown. Health, a bit of a question, this year, but he's, I think, done enough to be in this top 100.
He has a guy who's on his way out, and I love him to death. He's about to be 35 years old. Mike Conley.
Future Laker?
Could be future Laker. Last year, only averaged 13 points, 43% from the floor, 41 from three. Only played 28 minutes per game. Followed that up with Mitchell Robinson, a guy that we're both Mavs fans, full transparency, big-time Mavs fans. Watch every single Mavs game, is in every single one. Guy I would have liked to have got, but Mitchell Robinson from the Knicks, 8 points, 8 rebounds, 26 minutes a game. Has fouling issues, gotten a little better over the years. Played 72 games last year, which is big for him.
Shoots over 70% from the field, which is great.
Because he understands his role, right? 1.8 blocks a game, but influences a lot more shots than that. 96, not that Curry, but the other Curry. Seth Curry only played 19 games last year. Third in NBA history in three-point percentage.
I think that's a surprise to some people. Yeah. Knowing just Steph.
Knowing Steph. 32 years old, though, so he's probably heading down that road of not necessarily being the player he was. But when you can shoot like this, you can play for a long time if he can stay healthy.
And being on the Nets, he's not going to be the first offensive option. So he should be poised for a good year. Herb Jones coming in at number 95 for us from the Pelicans. A great rookie. It came in at the 35th pick. So the Pelicans, man, got a great.
Better watch out for them.
One of the better perimeter defenders. Really long wingspan. Be sure to keep an eye on him. Number 94, we're going Colin Sexton, keeping with Utah here. 2 years ago, he put up 47, 37, 73 splits and averaged 24 points. Obviously, Dad injured last year.
Yeah, so
how is he going to bounce back? That was kind of factored into this rating a little. He could definitely be, put up a little of the advanced stats, only 11.5 on his per negative win share, but we'll see. 93, Dad, going with a guy I've actually met before at NBA Fan Jam, Kevin Love, who had a bit of a resurgence.
Yeah, still here, man. Still here. 34 years old, makes $30 million a year. And I think that makes people view him in a negative light. If he wasn't making $30 million, you'd be like, this guy is really...
Bias Harris effect.
Yeah, exactly. 22.5 minutes a game, over 39% from three, a 19.6 per and a 5.7 win share. If you don't understand advanced analytics, just to understand that is good. 92, a guy that might surprise some people, Josh Giddey from the Oklahoma City Thunder. 12.5 points, 7.8 rebounds, 6.4 assists, only 26% from three, but he will get better at that. Turns 20 right before the season. He's 6'8", if you don't realize that. Not only was he was the National Basketball League, which is the Australian League, Rookie of the Year in his lone year, came here last year. Unfortunately, he's on that Thunder team. He's going to have a chance to shine. And number 91, a guy that wasn't on the NBA rank from ESPN, but was on Sports Illustrated list, a Mav, Dorian Finney-Smith, Dodo. You're not going to look at his stats and go, oh, this guy is great. Shoots almost 40% from three. A very underrated defender, a top 20 rated defender in the league. It fits perfect with Luka.
Yeah, the 3-and-D capability. I was stunned he was not on the ESPN list, man. But going into number 90 right now, Jordan Clarkson, again on Utah. This guy is a microwave off the bench. Only 31%, though, from downtown. So who knows?
And he's 30 years old, Trey, and his team's not going to be very good. So I think Jordan Clarkson's good in the right kind of environment, but I don't expect to see him on our list next year.
89, we're going
with
a guy who wasn't even on Sports Illustrated list, a former MVP, and a guy who takes more Twitter slander than just about any player. It's going to be Russell Westbrook for the Lakers, turning 34 next month here. He still put up 18, 7, and 7 last year on a 44%, 29% from downtown, and oddly his free throws have dipped in the last few years as well. He was so automatic that on the Thunder.
Yeah, that's how he pumped up the points.
But man, he's still skilled enough, I think, to be in this top.
I definitely think he is. And I think if he gets traded by the Lakers, he's going to be bought out and he might not even be in the league, but he's definitely talented enough to be on this list. A guy that I've watched a lot, Terry Rozier at 88, Charlotte, 19, 4, and 4. 44% from the field, 37 from three, 85 from the line, 17.6 per. This guy is really good, man, but Charlotte's going to be really bad this year, so this might be the only time you hear of him. 87, injuries definitely played into this. Robert Williams III, he's out right now with his second knee injury.
The Time Lord.
Yes, but if he wasn't, he'd be higher. 30 minutes a game last year, 10 and 9, 2.2 blocks. Second team All-D. Yeah. It's going to be interesting with their coaching situation. M.A. really brought in that defensive strategy, which made Robert really thrive. I don't know how it's going to be this year. We're going to keep with the Celtics at 86. Al Horford, 36 years old, making a resurgence. 69 games last year. Started all of them, 29 minutes, 10, 7, and 3. If you watch him in the playoffs, he was fantastic in one game, nothing in the next game. Fantastic. That's being 36, boys and girls. That's
that age, those mileage on him.
That mileage, man.
85, we're going Gary Trent Jr., another dude who was not on the ESPN list, in Toronto, who have probably almost the most amount of guys.
I think they might. I haven't
list.
added him up, but yeah.
Gary Trent, only 23 years old. Averaged 18 last year on really solid splits of 41, 38, and 85. And, man, I'm feeling that the Blazers, Dad, wish they would still have him.
He's a really good defender, too. They traded Norm Powell for Gary Trent. Norm Powell's not even on the Blazers anymore. They should have just kept Gary Trent. 84, a guy that we know very well, Trey. Kristaps Porzingis with the Wizards. 28 minutes last year, 22, 8.8, and 3. 46, 31% from three. It's kind of a misnomer that he's this deadliest shooter from three, but he does have some other good stats, and he's still a really good player. Sometimes it takes a little more hate, I think.
No, definitely. And from one former Mav now to
a guy
new
that
Mav.
kind of took his place, sort of.
We're going with the former Houston Rocket, Christian Wood, coming in here, presumably going to be coming off the bench for the Mavs. He averaged 18 and 10 on that tanking Rockets team last year on 50, 39, and 62 splits. Defense is a bit of a question mark, but I think
understatement of the evening.
Yeah, I think playing with Luka with that lob threat capability, I'm excited to see what he's going to do.
You're excited. Hot take for me. I'm probably going to be glad when he's not on our team. We're just seeing a little bit of preseason stuff. But maybe he'll surprise me. 82, Jusuf Nurkic, Portland, 15 and 11, a 20 per, just a really good all-around player, doesn't get his due. But I will say that the Nuggets had him and Jokic. He was starting, Nurkic wasn't. They decided to trade Nurkic years ago, so they gave Jokic the keys to the franchise. Traded him straight up for Mason Plumlee, of all things. So I think the Nuggets made the right. Those are franchise changing.
When you look back and was all like, this is a defining moment.
Kind of like when the Warriors decided to keep Steph and trade Monte Ellis. They were 50-50 on that. 81, a guy that I'm not a fan of, but this is an objective list, not a subjective list. Carris Levert from the Cavs. Only played 19 games last year, 39 the previous year. Only shoots 31% from three. Then you ask, why is he at 81? Just a very versatile player.
Yeah, as we finish out the 80s here, we got number 80, Clint Capella, another Hawk, 27 minutes
just a
a
solid
game.
Guy.
Averaged a double-double, threw in a block, and, obviously is such a lob threat from Trae Young, one of the best passers in the league, and a really solid rim protector, of course.
And on Clint, we're going to have a recurring theme, guys. We're going to have a wingspan. Wingspan is how tall your arms are, fingertip to fingertip. Clint's 6'10", his wingspan is 7'5". That's why he's such a good defender.
Keeping with another rim protector, we're going Miles Turner, number 79. Will this man get traded this year, Dad?
They've been trying to trade him for like 4 years straight.
The Pacers, who I think are going to be in ultimate tank mode, especially with the upcoming draft class. But he played 42 and 47 games the last 2 years. So, again, health always a question. Only 33% from downtown, but he is always amongst the leaders in blocks. And he still, Dad, is only 26. So.
Now, on that note, Trey, there's going to be an important question throughout this list. What is the most important ability?
Reliability
and availability.
Yeah.
So Miles is going to fail on that, and so are some of our other guys. And speaking of that, the next guy, Malcolm Brogdon, with the Celtics now, 38% career three-point shooter, remarkably consistent, but he's hurt all the time. He's a really good player. Really like watching him play. He played 36 games last year. 77, Spencer Dinwiddie. Used to be a huge fan of him when he was with the Nets. Before Kyrie and the gang showed up, his game kind of changed. His threes went from 31% last year with the Wizards to 40 once he came to the Mavs. I don't know that I trust that so much. I think it's the Luka bump.
You want a little more sample size on that.
Yeah, it's kind of an outlier. 76, we got Kyle Lowry, turns 37 in March. And for a guy who's as highly physical as he is and not always in the best of shape, he wasn't last year. Kind of a little bit of a question mark, although his stats, his points fell last year, but his other stats were remarkably consistent. But I think he's going to be one reason why Miami's going to dip a little bit this year.
75, we're going with the first Memphis Grizzly on this list. We have Dylan Brooks, 6'7".
A lot of people think he's shorter. He's 6'7".
And again, he's only 26. Of course, Memphis has that really solid core of young guys who are just got that dog in them, always going to be constantly attacking you. And Dylan Brooks really fits that as well.
He's what we like to call, Trey, a high-volume shooter.
Oh, 100%.
That's a nice
yeah. I hear a lot of people call him a 3-and-D guy. I mean, he shot only 31% from downtown last year. So
that's just an A&D guy, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll see if that tips up. Of course, health was a little shaky last year as well. We'll see once he's back here in full health for a full year how he's doing. Anthony Simons, number 74 here for the Blazers. He's only 23, Dad, and last year he really kind of saw that leap. I wonder with Terry Stotts out of there how that was able to blossom his game.
I've been big on him for many years, as you know. I kept saying, why are they not playing him? He's 6'3", he's got a 6'9" wingspan. Now, here's the thing. He averaged 17 points and 4 assists per game in 57 appearances last season, playing 29.5 minutes per. But in 30 games as a starter. Now, I'm going to tell you this because we have a lot of stats from the last whatever of the season, right? From the All-Star break on. Remember, a lot of teams aren't playing their best players the last month of the season, but still, in 30 games as a starter, 35 minutes a game, he averaged 23 points, 5 assists while shooting 45% from the floor and 42% from the arc. Now, he's playing bunch of guys who playing with a bunch of guys who are probably working at your local Chick-fil-A right now. So he did get a high volume. But another guy I'm very, very high on, but he's never going to develop into putting up the kind of numbers that I believe he could because of the team he's on. 73, a Brit, OG Anunoby, 6'7" with a 7'2" wingspan. He's only 25 years old.
Another Raptor, a tremendous defender, shoots 36% from three. He can just kind of do it all. Like I said, if he's ever handed the keys, I think he could really do a lot. But Trey, there's a lot of guys in front of him in line. Yeah. Those keys are not going to be passed that far down. No, and you'll see as the Raptors continue to pop up here. 72, a guy I'm really high on, Jonas Valanciunas for the Pelicans, man. It came up huge in the playoffs last year for him. Can hit the long ball 36% from downtown. Again, averages a triple-double. He averaged 18 and 11 last year, threw a block and half a steal. And I'm a fan of him. And then Aaron Gordon at 71. Playing for the Nuggets now. I'm hoping they're at full health so we can see how how they are at their peak. And he's another guy who you think back to him and Levine battling in the dunk contest. He's only 27.
So 27. He's basically your age. I'm like, what? He's a guy I'm a lot higher on than a lot of people because when he came in the league and for the first few years, everyone's like, he's going to take this leap. Everybody wanted to be a top 10 player. That's just not who he is, but he's a very good player. Versatile defender. Fits perfect with Jokic. Trade number 70, and I'm not sure this guy's even going to be on our list next year. That's just my take.
Wow, that's a very hot take. I think that's out of pocket.
Well, I thought you might. Jalen Brunson, former man. I'm not mad at him for leaving by any means. With the Knicks, his efficiency last year was actually less than it was the year before, just by a tad. Everybody remembers the playoffs. He carried the Mavs. He's a great guy, but he is what he is. And I think when you start to put him in a main lead guard role and the wear and tear of that, he's going to suffer defensively. And I mean, he's playing for the Knicks. It's going to be a hard time. But I hope Jalen the best. But that he's excited.
I'm still holding on to that series you alluded to against the Jazz, where he helped the Mavs go. But
the problem is he wore down. Just when you're that size and playing the game he plays, I have much admiration for it. It's crazy. 69, a guy that is much maligned. And I watched this team play a ton last year, and I watched him play probably almost every game this year. D'Angelo Russell with the Timberwolves. He's only 26 years old. Seems forever ago. He was with the Lakers, and Nick Young and him were having some issues. But D'Angelo is highly underrated, but he's frustrating to watch, right, if you watch him play all the time. Last year he averaged 18, 7 assists, one of the best pick and roll players in the league. Now that you got Gobert, man, I think it's going to boost D'Angelo's numbers, both on assists and points. So looking for big things for him. 68, Trey, a guy that we know and we've been watching for years and years from his Warriors and Mavs days.
Yeah, Harrison Barnes, one of the more consistent guys in the league. You know what you're going to get from him.
Pull the stats up year by year. You're like, okay.
He's 30 this year, playing for the Kings, of course, who I think will be making that run for that play-in spot. And
everybody wants Harry at every trade deadline. Just nobody ever pulls the trigger.
Shot 39% from downtown last year on a pretty high volume, too.
Not a playmaker, though. Cannot pass the ball.
67, we're going on with a guy who's been a bit disappointing for this squad, the Chicago Bulls center, Nikola Buchevich. He's about to turn 32, so age getting up there a little bit. Last year, he averaged 17 on only 47% from the field, 31 from downtown, 11 boards, stealing a block. But I'm hoping that we get the Buchevich from the Magic days, and it's not a case of he was a good stats on a bad team kind of guy.
Well, the Bulls fans are going, Trey, that was quite a while ago now, and I have a feeling Vooch might not even be on this list next year. 66, another guy that everybody wants to trade for, but it's not worth what the Hawks want for him. John Collins, very consistent trade. He's good, not great. He's not a guy you want to give up a lot of draft capital for, and they just sign him to a new contract. He's 6'9", though. I think he plays shorter because he's slight.
That's a good point. He's not, like that Capella where, Capella's
6'10", 7'5". Well, he looks way. So Capella's 1 inch taller than John Collins. Now, would you ever guess that if you were watching this?
That's true, yeah.
I mean, good stats, not great stats. 16 and 7, 36% from three. Definitely is benefits from the space that Trae Young creates for him to shoot open shots. A guy that doesn't benefit from any space, and a guy that's I don't know, man. 65. Julius Randle played his high school ball about 10 minutes from here.
That's right, man. And everybody going nuts whenever he had his career year.
Yeah, second team All NBA. Seems like a good guy.
And then last year, scoring dropped 4 points.
That's a lot.
Shot a career low, 41%, which is pretty rough for the volume that Julius shoots at. So this is going to be, I think, a defining year for his career. And maybe with Brunson there, taking a little bit of the ball handling and maybe setting him up some. Who knows?
Julius
see.
just takes a lot of bad shots, right? And he just had a year where he made a lot of bad shots. But speaking of bad shots,
number 64, Jalen Green from the Rockets, who I think, Dad, Rockets going to be in tank mode. Obviously, Jalen Green can put up some high scoring numbers, I think.
Yeah, and now one of the things you got to remember, he plays a 2 guard and he's only 6'4", and at some point that's going to be a problem. Unbelievable athleticism. After the All-Star break, one of those things I'm talking about where, guys' numbers take a jump. Averaged 22 points on 47, 39, and 76. I think sometimes, guys, when you got a guy that's drafted really high and they hand him the keys on offense, that guy never develops because he takes every bit of bad shots that you can take and he never understands what a good shot is.
Yeah, and especially being a guard, it's so tough to come in as a rookie compared to a big man and make that impact.
So it's an upside pick for us. He could be better.
Yeah, and 63, we're going to the man who just signed a fat deal. We got Tyler Hero for the Heat. Going to be starting this year, huh?
He's probably going to be starting. I saw somebody else say he might not be, but reigning 6th man of the year. And guys, I want you to understand something in basketball. That is a big deal because not that he's a reigning 6th man of the year, but when you put up stats and you're a backup, now obviously he started or finished with the starters, but you can put up some fantastic stats as a 6th man that you're not going to do against a weak talent. Talking about wingspan, guys, he's 6'5" with a 6'3" wingspan. It's a negative wingspan. He has short arms, so it is remarkable he can do what he does on shooting the ball. Last year he shot 44% from the field, 40 from 3, and really is the only playmaker outside of Lowry on their team.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think that's an underrated part of his game. As we go now to another sharpshooter, we have Desmond Bane of the Grizzlies, putting up 18 points last year, 46 and 44% from downtown, second in the league behind Luke Kennard. This man's just an absolute flamethrower.
He is. He's 6'6", and he has a negative wingspan, 6'5". So it's remarkable. He's an all-defensive level player that he can do that. Trey, one thing about him is this guy could always shoot. 43% career from 3 in college, 43% career from 3.
Man, and the Mavs could have possibly drafted
they could have got him. But one thing I'll say about Desmond, just my personal opinion, I love watching him play. He's already 24 years old. I think he's as good as he's ever going to be, and that's all right. Trey, we got another one of those Nick Chuckers at number 61.
We got RJ Barrett, who, again, he's a guy who seems like he's been in the league a lot longer than he has because he's only 22. I know we're very up and down on RJ because he is quite inconsistent, but
in my notes, Trey, I got to put wildly in all caps inconsistent.
Though last year, he had some games where he, put up almost 40.
He put up 43 in one game, and the Knicks fans were going nuts and put up 30. 3 times in 4 games, and they're like, he's here.
Yeah,
but
let's go. Yeah, he averaged 20 on the year last year on 41% shooting. Ooh. So again, he's another guy we're gonna see, playing with Jalen. How that's gonna.
So Trey, you're telling me that the Knicks have 2 high volume shooters last year, and RJ Barrett and Julius Randle, and they both only shot 41%.
Maybe that's why they fell short of the playoffs, huh?
Maybe it is. Now we had a couple decisions to make on this list. We already told you what we did with Lonzo Ball, just because we're not even sure he's going to play this year. And we definitely bumped Robert Williams down. There were 2 guys in particular that were interesting because they're either going to be way high on the list or not on the list at all, depending on how you think they're going to come back from injury and play. We kind of took a wuss way out and put him in the middle. So with that, in the 60s, Michael Porter Jr., 24 and has already had 3 back surgeries. He's 6'10", as pure of a stroke as anybody in the NBA outside of Seth Curry and Klay Thompson. 2 years ago, when he was fully healthy, averaged 19 and shot, guys, at 6'10" on high volume, he shot 44.5% from 3. Here's the problem. I just don't know that a guy that size with that wear and tear, with that much back, can be what he could be. If he continues on the path he started 2 years ago, he's going to be a top 20 player.
No, I'm really high on MPJ as well, and I really hope that his health can hold up for him. And as we get into the 50s now, we're going to a guy who just got punched by his teammate. We did this list before the incident, but it's going to be Jordan Poole for the Warriors, of course. Kind of got on people's radars last year, of course, with their championship run. 6'4", spent 2 years as a two-way player, and impeccable free throw shooter, led the league in free throw percentage last year. 36 from downtown, 45% from the field, 18.5 points. He is some instant offense right there.
He's a guy that's like a little more talented than Jordan Clarkson. Yeah. That's why I guess it's a Jordan name, but he's not as good as people think he is. He's going to get to play. He's going to be their sixth man most likely this year with Klay back. He's going to benefit from that. He's going to get a fat contract. I think the playoffs showed out. He had a couple of games, and then they had to basically bench him most of the Boston series because he just couldn't get it done. On that note of Klay, we put Klay at 58. It's hard to know with Klay. He came back last year after not playing for 950 days. He's not going to be the guy he once was. Mm-hmm. He'll turn 33 this season, but a guy that can shoot that well. He's never going to be the defensive player he was, but the guy can still shoot. And I was really surprised at his numbers from last year because it seemed like he didn't play that well in those 32 games, but they were pretty on par with 2018. He averaged 20 a game, 42 from the field, 38.5 from three, and it didn't seem like he shot that well from three.
And maybe it's because when he first came back, it was a really rough 10-game stretch. And then,
but he's not going to be the Klay Bowl. Yeah. He's just not. So 58 is probably pretty generous.
And 57, we're going Jeremy Grant for the Blazers. He's another guy who has a monster wingspan, 7'3" wingspan at only 6'8".
Yeah.
35% from three each of the past 2 years, and 41% overall.
He should have signed with the Knicks.
That's right. Each of the last 2 seasons. He's a guy who I wouldn't be surprised if he averaged, and solidly in the 20s, just how the Blazers are going to be this year. But
it'll be Dame's best three guy he's played in quite a while, and he's kind of a poor man's Aaron Gordon, sort of, is a role that Jeremy plays. He'll be good for them. 56, a guy that might surprise some people, but Tyrese Maxey from the Sixers. Third year in the NBA, third in NBA three-point shooting last year, which is kind of surprising. Now, Trey's only 6'2", but he's got plenty of defensive backup. Took a huge leap last year, tripled his minutes up to 35 a game, 17.5 points, 48 from the field. And so far in the preseason, I don't put any solace into, but he's gained a lot of muscle. Mm-hmm. He's going to benefit greatly from, you got Harden and Embiid and even Tobias there. So he's going to benefit from getting to be this guy, that can kind of hang out there. So I expect big things out of him.
I think he could be an X factor to, do the Sixers take that next step and get out of the East and go to the finals.
Right
and keeping on the Sixers, we're going Tobias at number 55 right here. He's only 30 years old himself, but his shooting fell off a bit last year. But again, we were talking Harrison Barnes earlier being so consistent. Yeah. Tobias is a very consistent player as well.
Takes a lot of shade because of that contract, but he's a good overall player.
And 54, we're going to De'Aaron Fox, one of the quickest men in the league for the Kings. Turns 25 in December, 6'3". I know we're not too high on him for some of his shot selection and not a very good shooter from behind the arc. But maybe a full year with the Sabonis by his side, that might help.
The thing with De'Aaron that's tough, I've watched him play a lot, is just that shooting. He doesn't want to go to the line. He's really tough to have your primary ball handler in the last 2 minutes not be able to shoot. It makes it tough, but he makes the maximum out of what he can do. 53, a guy that seems much taller than what he is, Jared Allen from the Cavs. I've been on this guy since he was on the Nets. I used to love watching the Nets before Kyrie and Durant showed up. 6'10", wingspan is 7'6". Oof. You get that in the fro, and this guy looks like he's 7'2" right there. Only 24 years old. All his stats increased last year. Averaged 16 and 10, and also 67% from the field. Only 1.3 blocks, but he's a defensive menace with his front court mate that will show up later on.
Oh, for sure. And 52, we're going to a guy who was traded last year, and he was not too happy about that. But that's Tyrese Halliburton playing for the Pacers this year, who, as we noted, are going to be in ultimate tank mode. So Halliburton might put up 25 a game. Who knows? Who knows, man? He averaged 50% from the field last year, 41% from behind the arc, and 10 dimes in his Pacer stint last year, along with almost 2 steals.
Those are big time stats. And he's 6'5". He's bigger than what he seems when he plays because he's pretty slight. He's only 22 years old. We were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Which player do you pick? The Kings picked the wrong player.
Yeah.
They kept De'Aaron and traded Tyrese. But, the Kings are, if any one thing they are, it is consistent at picking the wrong player all the time.
Who we got at 51, Dad?
Well, another guy that's interesting injury-wise, although he might have fell in here. Probably he might have fell 15 spots higher if he was totally healthy. Jamal Murray from the Nuggets. Last full season in 2020. Although he's playing a lot of that with the hurt knee before he blew it out against the Warriors. Averaged 21 on 47 and 40% from three. Really good player. Is not necessarily a primary ball handler because Jokic does a lot of that, but a perfect match for Jokic. Jamal's not highly athletic, even though you'll see some highlight dunks. So I think he'll be all right coming off this injury, but he's a point guard. And guys, remember, point guards coming back from knee injuries, it takes them longer to get that rhythm. And speaking of injury, guys, Trey, a guy that you and me, I'll speak for you, can't stand.
No, that's right. And we kind of copped out by putting him in just square in the middle, number 50 here. It's Ben Simmons, of course, from the Nets. I don't think we got to go too much into his saga here. Will this man play this year, and will he play well? Well, that's why we got to watch the games, right? Obviously, when Ben is fully healthy, he is a defensive monster. He is a strong playmaker. Just don't ask this man to shoot outside the paint, but
or free throws.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but he won't have to.
We'll see. I mean, he's obviously has so many weapons around him in Brooklyn that his playmaking could really cause some havoc.
Yeah, he could be a top 20 player this year for sure.
And going now into the top half of the list, going into some names that are a bit more household maybe. We got CJ McCollum for the Pelicans, Dad. 31. Again, that Pelicans, one of my more intriguing teams of the year, I think. And how CJ plays, being that veteran presence, will be a bit interesting.
And he took a good jump, man, when he got traded, mid-season. His scoring average went up 4 points to 24 points, 50% from the floor, 40% from three. Just a remarkably consistent player, and it's going to be big for them and where they're going to end up once postseason time comes. 48, DeAndre Ayton, 7-1, very consistent all the way around. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on with him with the Suns. I saw a lot of people put him top 30 last year. They got way overblown. You and I were always like, what? There's a CP3 effect here. He gets the table set for him quite a bit. 47, the reigning defensive player of the year. Marcus Smart turns 29 this season. He's only 6'3", plays such a physical style ball. 2 seasons ago, it seemed like he was in the decline. He had an uptick last year as far as his defense, but I think he got caught up in the wave of Celtics hype. His stats from last year and the season before weren't really any different. He only shoots 33% from three. He's not a true playmaker, even though he is their point guard. Trey, 46, what do we got?
We're going back to the Suns. Mikel Bridges, 6'6", with a 7'1" wingspan.
That's why he's a defensive monster.
Yeah, one of, I'd say, top 3, top 5 perimeter defenders in the league.
Top 3.
He has such versatility, being able to guard pretty much every position as well. He was definitely a monster in that Mavs series, though Luka was still able to get by him, but
for sure.
He shot 53% from the field, and shoots the 3-ball decently as well at 37. A bit of a downtick from 2020, but we'll see what he does.
And he's not a great shooter. He's never gonna be because he's 26 years old. But he did play all 82 games last year. Only 5 guys in the NBA did that.
And we're going now 45. A guy who coming off of foot surgery. Jaren Jackson Jr. for the Grizz, man. Again, talking about a defensive monster. This guy is that, right? 7'4" wingspan, and can not afraid to shoot that 3-ball, even though his percentage is only 32%.
Yeah, it's not pretty.
But hey, it's he's kind of that anchor, right, Dad, for that Memphis defense.
Yeah, and he's coming off foot surgery, but it looks like he might be back pretty early compared to when they thought he was going to be. So a guy that I really don't like, but subjectively, objectively, he's a very good player. What we got at 44? But these guys got a lot of guys on our list.
Yeah, we're going back to the Cavs, man. With Darius Garland, him and Sexton broken up now, but I think that the Cavs chose, wisely in that regard.
Obviously,
because he's only 22 years old, 6'1", put up 22 points a game last year on 8.5 dimes, and 38% from behind the arc, which is pretty darn solid as well. Can't complain about that.
First All-Star appearance as well.
Yeah, and at 43, we're going to the man who is just in the middle of controversy, but when is he not? Draymond Green for the Warriors, of course, coming off their championship, 4-time champion now. He turns 33 this year, Dad. 6'6" with a 7'1" wingspan. At his peak, one of the best defenders of all time.
I would say, and still so smart. He holds things together defensively. Draymond's in a big-time decline, and he had 2 good finals games last year. Remember, they did bench him in Game 4 of the finals.
That's right, yeah.
So, and then all of a sudden, everybody just remembers, what do we remember the last thing we saw? This guy's in a big-time decline. He's got an option year next season, after this season, that he may opt out of, and I'm not sure that the Warriors will re-sign him. So, I don't know, man. He's very much a detriment offensively. He's a great playmaker, but he can't shoot at all.
And 42, going back to the Raptors here, we're about to have a decent amount of those guys. We're going Fred VanVleet, turning 29 this season, an all-star in his career. Dad, he put up 20 a game last year and the year before that. And again, a dude who's pretty remarkably consistent in these past 2-3 years. So
he isn't a great defender. It's just, he is what he is, but an undrafted guy out of Wichita State making all these
and you don't see that too often in the league.
No, you don't. 41, we got DeJounte Murray with the Hawks now, 6'4" with a 6'10" wingspan. A breakout year last year with the Spurs, but you got to put that a little bit into context. They were not very good, right? So they leaned on him. He'd probably be higher if he's with the Spurs. Obviously now, with Trey and that team he's on in Atlanta, he's not going to put up the same stats. First time All-Star last year, averaged nearly a triple-double. 40 Trey, we got Kade Cunningham. He's up to 226 pounds. He gained 13 pounds of muscle over the off season. And when you play with Detroit, you have a long off season.
So definitely, man.
17-5-5 last year on 41% from the floor, 31% from 3, but he definitely had an uptick the second half of the season. Detroit is going to be a lot better, and that should help Kade out.
Oh, definitely. In any interviews I've ever heard Kade in, he definitely takes his game serious. And I know he's going to do everything he can to get Detroit over the hump. And we're going to a guy now who you hear a lot about, right?
You hear a lot about him from me.
He's going to be great.
I love this
guy. And he's just in an unfortunate situation. And for the Thunder, Gilgas Alexander just turned 24. And, man, he averaged 24.5 last year, 45% from the floor, only 30% from downtown, quite a dip from a couple years back. But, again, really a versatile dad and a solid defender. But how much are they going to unleash him, and how long is he going to want to stay in a situation where we're just going to tank year after year after year?
Ask out, and he's injured again. He's got an MCL sprain. He should be back for the start of the season, but he's missing camp. But they've shut him down the last 2 years when he didn't need to be shut down. Yeah, sooner or later he's going to be like, I'd like to play.
Yeah.
So when a guy's this good and they shut you down, he doesn't have guys to kick the ball to, so his assist rate isn't what it would be with a great team. So he's a guy that if he got traded to the right place, would put up unreal numbers. Probably one of the best 5 guys to get into the rack in the entire league. 38, a guy that we're kind of, I don't know on this guy. Andrew Wiggins, a great finals last year, but and he started the All-Star game.
Started the All-Star. Who would have thunk?
Turns 28 this season, nearly a 7-foot wingspan, is going to be an unrestricted free agent after this season. His stats last year were actually the same or maybe that much lower than they were the year before. 17 points, 40% from 3, but you also got that Steph effect where he just creates so much space so you're wide open. So
definitely.
Wiggins, I think that's fair. I've seen him even higher on a lot of other people's lists. 37 is a guy that I have real questions about. I watched almost every Hornets game last year. LaMelo Ball just turned 22. I'm worried for him, Trey, because they're going to be absolutely awful.
They're going to be, bottom, obviously with the Bridges situation, losing him through no fault of their own. It's going to be, I think, Tankapalooza.
I think it is too. And he put up, his numbers jumped last year. He 20 points, 43, 39 from 3, 7 boards, almost 8 assists. I mean, he is going to be outstanding. His vision, he's almost 6'8", but I don't know, man. He's got these national commercials. Good thing he got him while he could.
No, one of the more fun players in the league to watch, I think, as
for
well.
Sure.
And then we're going now to a guy who has the second highest contract in NBA history. We have Bradley Beal for the Washington Wizards, man. Coming in here, averaged 23 a game last year. Quite a dip, Dad, from his 31 a game in 2020.
Yeah.
Only 30% from downtown last year as well. That's not what you want from a high volume guy. He did only play 40, half the season last year. That should be noted. But, it's going to be interesting. Okay, how does he fit with KP? Because he didn't really get to play
they
with
didn't
him.
play together at all. Monte Morris coming in at the point may help him a little bit. A real point guard, professional point guard coming in. Brad Beal's a guy that some of you watching can be like, he's a top 15 player. He's really not. Nothing against Brad Beal. He doesn't have exceptional quickness. He doesn't shoot the ball exceptionally well.
He's just a great defender.
No, he's just a professional scorer. Not a great defender is the understatement of the night. But Trey, that segued into our number 35 pick, which is the polar opposite.
Yeah, we got Evan Mobley for the Cavs. This is a guy who in a couple years, top 15, even top 10 potential, depending on how he goes. Averaged 15 and 8 last year, 50% from the field, only 25% from downtown.
But he's got a good stroke, and I think that can be developed.
And, just being so young going into his second year, that's, definitely something that even if you could get in the mid-30s, you'd at least be a threat out there that could be dangerous.
Because he plays with Jared Allen. They play at the same time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I saw the media day pictures, like, he's a good 3 inches taller.
Yeah.
He's probably 7'1". They said he grew another inch, and defensively, he has a chance to be a transcendent generational
100%.
player. It's unreal.
It's gonna be really fun to watch the Cavs this year, and going to maybe the most underrated guy in the league. He's up there, number 34, Domantas Sabonis for the Kings. Got traded last year from the Pacers, so go from the Pacers to the Kings. It's not a big market, so maybe that is why he is underrated. He averaged 19, 12, and 5 last year, and again, is just a remarkably consistent hand night in and night out.
Definitely. A guy that I am huge on, the reigning rookie of the year coming in at number 33, Scotty Barnes for the Raptors, 6'7" with a 7'4" wingspan. Just did a little bit of everything last year. 15 points, 7 boards, 3.5 assists. Only shot 30% from 3. That will improve. At Florida State, he hardly shot any threes. 50% from the 4, and actually plays everywhere from 1 to 5. Starter games at 1 through 4. Can switch anywhere. I think this guy, if he can get the shot down, has a chance to be a top 10 player in the next couple of years in the league. Trey, speaking of top 10 players and someone who people think is a top 10 player, who we got at number 32?
Number 32, Zion Williamson for the Pelicans, right? A guy who is only 22 years old. What a hype train behind him. Man was an absolute force in 2020, but in 3 years, he's played 85 games and he's missed 141. That factors into the ranking right here, right? He, in his last full healthy year, he put up 27 on 61% from the floor, only 29% from downtown, but also threw in, 7 boards in there as well, and was just a force around the rim. Let's see how he is. He looks to be a little more shape than he was last year, and now with playing with CJ, Herb Jones in here,
Brandon Ingram,
to see how the Pellies rock.
He's only a 68% free throw shooter. He played point Zion 2 years ago. I don't think he'll do that this year, so it'll be interesting to see how he fits in because he can't shoot, but he's so athletic. A great regular season player. 31, DeMar DeRozan. He's 33 years old, career 28% three-point shooter. He shot 35% last year, and a little bit of an outlier for him. Second team All-NBA. Had a strong first 2/3 of the season, then went off a little bit. I think he's a really good player. I really respect DeMar. A professional bucket getter. As good at creating a basket in 2-point range as anybody in the league still.
The mid-range killer, man.
But I think last year was it was a little bit of a peak for him. I don't think he'll be quite that good this year, but give him credit, man. He's improved consistently throughout his career.
Yeah, very rare for a guy to have a career year this far into his career. Now, going to 30, we were just talking about him. Brandon Ingram for the Pelicans just turned 25. He's 6'8" with a 7'3" wingspan, and talk about professional bucket getters. This guy as well can create his own shot, mid range, go to the rack. Only shoots 33% from downtown, but he shot 38% the year before. Yeah, just
a little bit of a fall off. Otherwise, his stats are very consistent. 5 and 5 on rebounds. It's just a very consistent player that's probably as good as he's ever going to be. Yeah. But he's like a mini light Durant in the way he gets shots. Now, very mini, but he's there. 29, a guy's coming off an injury. He's 31 years old. Chris Middleton, 6'8". A lot of people don't know that about him. Started out with Detroit, played some G League. So this guy's really made himself a player. A very, very good defender. He's going to shoot 37 to 40% from 3. If they would have had him last year, I guarantee you they would have went to the NBA Finals. They took the Celtics to 7 without
him. Yeah, and we might be talking about the Bucks going back-to-back looking for a three-peat.
We very well might be. Trey, 28, we're just going back to this team yet again.
Yeah, Pascal Siakam for the Raptors. He was in the 2016 draft, but he is 28 years old.
Yeah, it's a lot older than you think.
Yeah, and third-team All-NBA last year, and he just really fits, I think, that Raptors culture.
He does.
A solid defender, can go out and score the basketball, 23 points a game last year on really solid shooting clips as well.
All right, 27, a very controversial guy. When I look back over this list, I think we probably rated him too high. A lot of people think he's rated too low. Kyrie Irving, turns 31 in March, guys. He's not young anymore. Only played in 29 games last season. In those games, he averaged 27 a game. But Trey, if you take most elite NBA players and you let them play every third game, disappeared in the playoffs, and really has disappeared the last 3 years in the playoffs. He's always going to have the shot in 2016, one of the most clutch shots of all time. Would I want Kyrie on my team? No, I would not. No. Not an elite playmaker, but an elite shot maker, one of the best guys to get into the rack, and one of the best shooters of all time.
Of all time, yeah. His offensive game, he is a microwave, and then you have that other factor of, okay, what is this dude gonna
what's
play?
The most important ability? Yeah, we go back to that, exactly.
But with that said, we're going now to 26. Zach LaVine for the Bulls, All-Star last year, coming off that knee surgery, so that'll be interesting. And I actually was listening to a podcast with DeMar DeRozan recently, and man, he just had such high praises to say about Zach that, he can literally do anything on the floor from his athletic ability. Really solid shooter, actually, 39% from downtown. People just see his dunking ability and ability to get to the rack. And when he
was drafted from Minnesota, Trey, he never even started a game at UCLA. It came out his freshman year. They tried to make him a point guard. He couldn't even dribble. He's come so far. I have a ton of respect for Zach LaVine. Coming off that knee injury, we'll see how. But remember, guys, he played the last third of last season on that knee injury. That's why his stats weren't quite as good. And what does it take for a man to stand there, and a team is his, a franchise is his? DeMar comes in and takes over, and he cedes to him and allows that to happen. That tells you a lot about LaVine and his leadership skills, and he got rewarded with that fat contract. 25, we got Drew Holiday from the Bucks, 32 years old, one of the best on-ball defenders in the league, just very solid. 18 points a game last year, 50% from the floor, 41% from three, and a guy who could average a lot more. He just does whatever you need him to do, and very, very pivotal in them winning a title 2 years ago was that acquisition. A guy who could be probably a second best player on a title team, seeding to be number 3.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. 24, one of the oldest guys in the league. 37, Chris Paul with the Suns. He's played that over 1,100 games in the regular season. That's adding up. So it still, though, last year, man, he averaged 15 on 49% from the floor, only 31 from downtown. It was kind of an aberration, quite a dip for Chris there, but still dropped 11 dimes a game. 2 steals, even at this age. He's still, the point guard, as they call him, right? Being able to run that offense, and
a feisty fella.
To say 100%. And it'll be curious to see how long he can keep this up, this longevity. But going now to number 23, a guy that you were on before a lot of people were.
Anthony Edwards. Okay. 6'4", 6'9" wingspan. He put on 15 pounds of muscle this summer. And not the 15 pounds of muscle a lot of the guys. He really did. And he says he feels so much quicker and so much better defensively. This guy will be an all-NBA player within the next 2 or 3 years. Yeah. And that's what people don't understand, because he's a decently high-volume shooter. His stats from his rookie year and last year are actually remarkably consistent. Slight uptick in field goal percentage. 3 points better on 3-point percentage. Shoots 36% from 3. The Wolves are really looking at to go to 38, 39, 40. It's really hard to be a 40% three-point shooter on high volume. He's going to definitely benefit from Gobert being there. And he will be a top 10 player in the league in 3 years.
100%. And we're going now to a blockbuster deal that happened. Donovan Mitchell sent from the Jazz to his new home in Cleveland. 6'1", with a 6'10" wingspan.
That's why he can play like he can. That's
wild, man. Which you would think would kind of equate to better defense from him, but
which he had his rookie year, and then it was just like, I'm good.
But with that said, he is a bucket getter, man. 26% or 26 points a game, rather. 44 from the field and 35 from downtown. Interesting, to see him away from Gobert. Obviously, they've had their ups and downs in their career, and now being with Mobley and Allen.
He just fell right into it from one defensive beast to 2 others. And, the thing on Donnie is that people really wanted him to take over the point for the Jazz and kind of push Conley out, and that probably would have been their move. And then is he going to go to the Knicks and be their point guard? No, they get Brunson. Now he doesn't have to be a point guard. He can just be what he was, because Garland's got that unlocked. So I expect a big year out of him and out of the Cavs. 21, Trey, this one was painful for you and me. He's one of our favorite players in the league, one of our very favorites. Damian Lillard, 32 this year, coming off that abdominal injury. His stats last year were way off. Don't buy anything into that. The guy had an abdominal injury that needed surgery. Try shooting a basketball with a strained ab, let alone something. So I would expect if he puts up his normal thing, he'll be back in the top 15 next year. Now we're to the vaunted top 20. A guy that I saw Sports Illustrated had at number 10. He would be in my top 10 if he said pick one guy you got to have for a playoff series.
Yep.
But we're talking about overall. Jimmy Butler from the Heat. He's 33 years old. His stats aren't going to blow you away, right? 21 points, 48 from the field, 23% from three, and that is the big problem. But if you need somebody to strap him on for one game, he'd be one of my top 5 picks. I have immense respect for Jimmy, but a little tough to play with. A little tough, Spoelstra, you want to F and fight me? I mean, it's great.
That's right.
I love the Heat culture. They weigh their guys once a week and fine them if they're gained weight. Like, it's an insane culture that I think was built for Jimmy Buckets. Pat Riley, man. A throwback. And I love watching the Heat play, even though they're not excited. A guy I don't love playing or watching play, Trey, but you can handle him at number 19.
Yeah, number 19. And, man, this was a really tough guy to rank because this guy was, easily a top 10, top 5
I'm
player.
ready for their fans and their outrage.
A couple years ago, we got Anthony Davis for the Lakers right here, 6'10", 7'6" wingspan. Played 76 games in the last 2 years, and that's, really obviously hindering him on the ranking right here. He shot 26 and 18% from three for the past 2 years. I think that gets skewed at because he, just had really his peak career shooting in the bubble when
everybody remembers it.
But he's missed almost a quarter of the regular season games in his career.
That's insane.
So
what's the most important ability?
That's right, availability. It keeps coming up. So if Anthony Davis can even get back to 80-90% of what he was 2 years ago, maybe Lakers can make a little run in the West. I wouldn't hold on to that hope.
I wouldn't hold on that he's going to be there either. He said he disclosed he had an injury last year to, I think, his wrist, and that was his shooting issue. I don't know what the issue was the year before, but Trey, he's vowed his goal is to play all 82 games, and he was supposed to start a preseason game a couple nights ago and was a scratch at the last minute. So, go for it. 18th, Bam Adebayo for the Heat. Only 25 years old. Seems like he's been around forever. And Trey, talking about choices, 4 years ago, it was, were they going to take Hassan Whiteside and keep him?
That's
or Bam Adebayo? The Don, as you called him, Riley, made the right choice. 19 and 10 last year on 55% shooting. A phenomenal defender, very switchable, and can handle the ball and run a little point center. But he is small. He's only 6'9", and that does come into effect in the playoffs when he's got to play against Embid and guys like that.
No, I'm really high on Bam, and I don't know if he'd be ahead of a lot of people over AD, but I think he is. But
I think he is too.
In 17, we're going Jaylen Brown for the Celtics. Man, his stats are pretty identical for the last 2 years. Very consistent, and of course, just an absolute dog on defense, and can get to the rack. And some of those playoff games last year where Tatum was just out of it, he really carried the C's.
Yeah, and I don't know that he'll ever go higher on this list because he can't dribble.
Yeah,
he can't dribble and he can't play make at all. And once the Heat and then the Warriors followed the game, once they figured out if he drove a little bit, the guards just dig down, stole the ball. But I have a lot of respect for Jaylen, man. It's hard to play with a guy like Tatum. Not that Tatum's hard to play, but a guy who's everybody's holding up as the alpha. And I mean, Jaylen Brown's like that much not as good as him. I mean, I told you a couple years ago that Jaylen Brown's better than Jason Tatum.
Yeah, you were high on him.
You looked at me like I was crazy, and I mean, I'm still not sure that he's not. He's very close, man. But much props for him. 16, Trey, you want to cover this?
That's right, Trey Young for the Hawks. Averaged 28 a game last year.
Big improvement. He took a big step.
And 10 dimes on a very high volume 3-point shooter. Still puts up 38%.
Doesn't take so many pull-up logo threes anymore.
Where so that rookie in second year, he was just letting that thing fly. Going into his 5th year already right now.
Which is crazy.
And, definitely one of the premier point guards in the league. And I'll be curious to see him and DeJounte Murray.
An elite passer, especially for a guy his size.
For sure. And going to 15, we call him Playoff P, even though he's actually been quite good in the playoffs the past couple years now. But it's Paul George for the Clippers. We saw this man, unfortunately, in a couple playoff series taking down our Mavs.
Yeah, and I've never been a Paul George guy. I don't like him because I don't have respect for a guy that won't be the alpha. It's just the way it is. He left Indiana, wanted to go somewhere where he could play with somebody who was better than him, so he went and play with Westbrook. And then, lo and behold, he said, "Hey, Kawhi, can I launch on with you?" But he's a tremendous all-around player.
Yeah.
I just never felt the fire out of PG, but multiple times all defense and just, a guy his size. I mean, even last year he averaged 24 a game, 35% from three, but 41%, over 40% a lot of times in his career. So if he's healthy, I look for big stuff out of him.
He carried the load with Kawhi out last year, that's for sure. And now we're going to a former MVP for the Sixers. It's James Harden, turning 33 this year, Dad. How do you think he's how do you think he's going to do?
I think he's transitioned in part of his career. He is not going to be the same guy he was with Houston. Part of that's because he was heliocentric, which just means he had the ball in his hands all the time. When you look at his stats last year, I got him right in front of me, from the Nets to the Sixers, pretty much the same. Everybody's like, once he gets to the Sixers, he's going to tear. He shot 32% from three, 10.5 assists. He's a guy that's going to play more point guard. Maxey will be more the two guard, but he can still create whenever you need him to. The rule change and not being able to draw nearly as many fouls. In 2019, Trey, he averaged 34 points a game, and last year he averaged 21. Let that sink in.
Yeah.
Part of Harden's brilliance, he's one of the best offensive players of all time, but was the fact he had the ball in his hands all of the time, and it kind of pumped those numbers up.
No, I agree with you right there. And going now to number 13, we're almost to the top 10, Dad, but we're going with Karl Anthony Towns for the Timberwolves here. 13 All-NBA last year. Where he kind of gets knocked for me is that playoff performance. It was kind of hideous at certain points last year.
And the whiny?
Yeah. With that said, though, just an elite shooter, the best big man shooter in the league, shot 41% from downtown last year.
On high volume.
And put up 24 and 10 as well. So,
and he'll no longer have to guard center, so he should have more energy. 12, Trey, a guy that a lot of people have in the top 10. He was a All-NBA player last year. Just not quite there yet on him. Ja Morant from the Grizzlies, 27 points a game last year on 50% shooting, up to 34.4 from three. So he's worked hard on that. Like, no one plays harder than Ja. He's not selfish. He's not one of those high volume chuckers, but the way he plays, Trey, and with his slight build, like, you worry about the guy multiple times a game when you watch him.
And with his athleticism, he's just zooming through the air.
Every fall is a hard fall. He played 57 games last year. Famously, if you follow the NBA a lot, Memphis was better with him off the floor than they were on. That's one of those misnomers. There's a lot that goes into that. Ja is probably almost, for me, about as good as he's ever going to be.
How could he improve? Just up in the threes a little?
A little bit, yeah. And I think, I think the thing with Memphis is you got to remember, got a bunch of young guys with chips on their shoulders. They play really hard in the regular season, and not everybody does, and it inflates their numbers.
Ja, one of my favorite players to watch. Entertaining. And knocking on the door of the top 10. Just like our next guy, who is just a transcendent, one of the greatest defensive players of all time.
And very polarizing with NBA fans.
Rudy Gobert, the big deal that sent him to the Timberwolves over the summer. Going to make them fun to watch. 7'1" with a 7'9" wingspan. Led the league in rebounding yet again. Threw in a couple blocks in there. Averaged nearly 15 boards and 15 points as well. 71%. Rudy's such a smart player offensively.
So smart.
I think he got maligned a couple years ago, Dad, just for his playoff performance, how he had to cover for the Jazz with people not understanding how pivotal he was to the Jazz scheme and how kind of weak the guards around him were.
Everybody on there was a negative defender at the time. So him going to Minnesota, he's going to upload them like more than you can possibly imagine. It's going to be insane. Like, this guy single-handedly changes a game as much as anybody in the league besides Steph Curry.
Yeah,
as far as
the
gravity he has. Go look at the advanced defensive analytics if you don't believe me. I watched the Jazz play most of their games for the last 5 years. I was on the Jazz train. Trust me on this. Trey, we're finally to the top 10.
Top 10 time. A man that our squad took out last year beautifully in a Game 7. But still in the top 10 here, we have Devin Booker, fresh off his cover of NBA 2K23.
That's right.
First team All-NBA player last year. Averaged 27 on 46-38 splits. 5 boards and dimes to throw in there as well. I really can't stand Devin Booker, but I can't either. I gotta tip my cap, and I recognize he is a top 10 player, and judging based on the off season and just the tumultuous situation with the front office and the players, Booker, I think, is going to have to carry a heavy burden.
And with CP dropping off, and I think his stats have definitely benefited from having CP, but his 3-point percentage went up 4% last year. I think he's another guy that's just as good as he's going to be. He doesn't have elite athleticism, doesn't have elite ability off the hop. A really good 2-point shot maker. 3-pointers, I would let this guy shoot the three, and he sometimes can disappear, guys. He can just kind of go, where'd he go? And number 9, some of you people are going to have him in your top 3. Kevin Durant, 34 years old. He's got that 7'5" wingspan, and that has really benefited him over the career. He's only played in 90 games, Trey, in his 3 seasons with the Nets. Now, it's a little bit skewed if you want to say he didn't play his first year because of the blown Achilles. You knew he wouldn't. But then he's played 90 games in 2 seasons. And really, one of the best shooters in NBA history. You know, he played 55 games last year, averaged 30 points on 51-38 from 3. But, Trey, he's not an elite passer. And I think his skill set has definitely slowed down from the Achilles. And just a very difficult guy to play with, right? The moodiest guy in the league. For me, one of the most unlikable guys in the league. He whines and cries about everything, is arrogant about everything. The team did everything for him, fired a great coach in Kenny Atkinson, traded Jarrett Allen because his buddy DeAndre Jordan needed to start.
That's right.
Then he wants to leave. So do I feel emotional about this? I do. This guy is a clown, but he's a great player.
No, I think you summed it up well. I place a lot of emphasis on what are you doing in the playoffs. And not going to lie, man, Tatum really did shut down Durant last year, and Durant didn't really show up against the C's, and they got that sweep.
And Durant's playoff ability is very, very skewed by the 2 series that he really did well against the Cavs with the Warriors. Go take a look at the rest of his playoff resume. Go look at all of it. And then kind of tell me where you think he is compared to not having the gravity. But Durant's another guy that doesn't want to carry a team or suck it up, right? Let's see. I'm going to go from Westbrook and MVP to go play with the Warriors. Now Kyrie's got to come, and you got to get me Harden. And Harden didn't work out. Now you got me Simmons. So
in saying all that, I wouldn't be surprised if he put 30 up again.
Oh, I wouldn't either at all. I mean, he's a great.
All that to say, but it'll be interesting to see that Nets
soap opera.
Yeah, and number 8.
Speaking of soap operas,
going with the greatest of all time, LeBron James.
Whoa, I got to get a little LeBron going here because Trey forgot about MJ. But go ahead.
Turning 38 in December, Dad, and gosh, LeBron, he's still out here. He looks in great shape.
Oh, yeah. That guy's never going to not be in good shape.
And I know he's going to be coming dialed in after, missing the play-in last year. Put up 30 a game last year, which is remarkable at the age of 37. 52% from the field, 36 from downtown. And so that's not too bad. Still putting up 8 boards, 6 dimes, steal, and a block. This is going to be, I think, the year, and we've been saying it year after year, where it's like, can AD, originally, Dad, when AD came there, it's like AD's going to be the kind of...
Yeah, he's going to help carry LeBron.
1A or 1B,
yeah,
right?
LeBron ages, so LeBron can take a little load off.
Whereas LeBron's really had to take that brunt of the work with the AD's injury history. But, 38, you keep thinking, it's like the Brady effect. Is this the year he's going to drop? Is this the year he's going to drop?
And I think he's slowly dropped over the last few years. He's had more injury problems. He played 37 minutes last year, which is absolutely criminal on the coaching side.
Yeah, that can't happen.
No. And so LeBron is definitely not the same player he once was, not even more close if you watch him play. But the stats don't play that. I hear a lot of people go, he averaged 30 points a game last year, but he was kind of trying to. But I'd still take the guy on my team any day of the week. Yeah. But, he's not the same guy that's going to be able to strap the team on his back. And unfortunately, he's saddled with one guy that's never met a bad shot in Westbrook and another guy that can't stay on the court. So
no, you're right.
But don't worry. One thing we know about LeBron, if he doesn't like a situation, he'll leverage his way right on out of there. All right, Trey, number 7, a guy who took a huge leap last year, especially in the playoffs. Now, in the finals, he was fatigued, but Jason Tatum, first team All-NBA last year, a great two-way player. You and I put a lot of high emphasis on that. Averaged 27 a game last year on 45 and 35, 8 boards, 4.4 assists. That's the weak part in his game. He's not a playmaker. He's not ever going to be, but he's a really good player. If the Celtics play fantastic this year, even with the coaching situation, they've looked very good in the preseason. Brogdon's a big get for them. He's going to be in the MVP conversation if they put up that record.
Oh, definitely, man. And I think that, he really did kind of, take that next step a little bit.
Hopefully he learns to finish off 2 feet when he gets at the rim. You heard me constantly complain last year.
That is for sure.
Our number 6, we got this guy higher than any list I've seen, and it just baffles me that he's not.
Oh yeah,
anywhere higher.
Again, it's going back to the playoffs, man. This guy, put in some of the best series I've seen someone put in the playoffs against the Mavs, right? Kawhi Leonard, of course, is who we're talking about for the Clippers, coming off his injury last year, Dad. He's missed about a third of the games in a regular season in his career.
Which really is going to skew him legacy-wise, his stats. Imagine that, missing a third of your games.
But not the defensive monster he once was, but still can go in and, shut somebody down. And, I mean, he's just so methodical, Dad. He can hit the three ball. In his last healthy season, he shot 40% from downtown, 50% from the field on 25 points. And, Kawhi's a guy I think that could average a lot more than he does. And we see that in the playoffs where his stats get that uptick. He picks his moments. He's smart about that. He's the claw.
And he's coming off the knee injury, but don't worry about it, because here's the thing. This guy's been healthy since his last season in San Antonio. When he took Toronto to the title, watch the playoffs, and especially the finals, he's dragging them along. He had that quadriceps injury, quad tendon, which you almost never really totally recover from. So I think he's going to be fine. He'll turn it on when he needs to. They're very deep.
You still have Paul George and, as you mentioned,
they're probably the deepest teams. They're going to be fine, man. So now we're to the vaunted top 5. Most every list I've seen has the same people in the top 5. It's just going to be where you put them, except for Sports Illustrated. I'm not even going to get into that. Trey, who do we got at number 5?
We got the reigning Finals MVP. We have Stephen Curry right here. Of course, age getting up there. He's turning 35, which is kind of surprising, man. But, played multiple years at Davidson. Went 31, 6-5 in the finals, and he dropped 43 in Game 4. He's one of my 5 favorite players of all time, and so I was glad he was able to shut the haters up and finally get that Finals MVP that he should have had whenever Iguodala won back in the day.
But sure.
He was able to shut those haters up, and he won a title before Durant. Couple with him. Now he's won one after.
Exactly.
I think, his legacy just took a huge step up. And what happens if the Warriors repeat this year and Steph gets up to 5?
I don't know. I mean, I heard people after say he's getting up there with LeBron. Let's not get crazy, guys. I mean, I'm not a LeBron fan, but I recognize the greatness, man. Let's not get crazy. But had a definite drop off in 3-point percentage last year. Only 38%. That's still fantastic.
It was that weird stretch where every game was being looked on, right? When's he going to break the record? But
Steph has slowly trailed off the last few years, just very slowly. His defense has gotten better. He's really resculpted his body, got to the hole more. But, man, I love this guy. Trey, you've watched a lot of him in your life because I adopted the Warriors way back in 2011 as my nighttime league pass team, and I had to get rid of him once Durant came. But love us some Steph.
All right, top 4 time. We have a guy who maybe MVP season coming up.
He's going to be my pick for the MVP.
Who knows? We have Joel Embiid for the Sixers, man. Back-to-back MVP runner-up. Led the league in usage rate, actually, last year. Put up 30 points, was the scoring champ last year. 50% from the field, 37 from downtown, and, being over 7 feet tall, having these types of clips just makes him so dangerous. And, his health actually has held up pretty well, recently.
Way better than what you would think. Average 4 assists a game as well, and really, really good defensively.
Oh, man. The anchor for that Sixers squad.
So I'm a big Joel fan just watching him play. I think sometimes he takes a little too many outside shots because he can dominate inside. He said this summer he's worked on his 3 a lot. So I don't know how that's going to play out, but I think he's going to win the MVP because it's a league of you didn't get it the last 2 years.
Yeah.
You should have got it. So here you go. Usage rate, in case you don't know what it is, not to get too technical, but it is an important. It's basically how much a guy dominates the ball. A possession ends with you shooting a field goal, a free throw, or turning it over. So
top 3.
Woo. A guy that we absolutely love, and you hear me bitch about constantly. Luka Doncic, second in usage rate in the league behind Joel, but led it the previous year. An astronomical, unbelievable 39.6% usage rate in the playoffs. The sky is the limit for Luka, Trey. Very consistent. Last year, he's pretty much the same. He had 1 more rebound a game after KP left. Averaged 28.4 points. 9 boards, 8 assists. He could average more assists if guys would make shots. I don't know how many times.
That's right.
But there's a Luka effect. You play with Luka, spread the floor. This guy's transcendent. I was on him before the Mavs ever got him. I was on him in his last.
Can score on anyone in the league from anywhere.
I told Trey when we drafted him, we went crazy when we made the trade for him. I said, he could be a top 10 player of all time. And Trey looked at me and said, all time? Really? I'm like, yeah. And he could be. I think the thing with Luka and Trey might hear me complain about this once or twice a game. The complaining with the refs is a bad look, and he's got to come in shape. He played in EuroLeague. He's going to come in shape. But if he ever comes in and just is in super shape, there's no telling what he can do. But the usage rate this guy carries, I don't think the Mavs are ever going to get another superstar to play with him. It's hard to play with a guy who has the ball all the time. But we'll save that for our preview of the season. But Trey, I mean, he's the favorite to win the MVP. Yep. I just don't know if the Mavs are going to be good enough for people to elevate him.
Have that record.
But this guy is as clutch gets.
For sure. And I mean, if you needed any evidence of that, you just watch every playoff series he's ever had. Man. And it was such a treat.
By himself a lot of times.
Yeah, it was such a treat taking the Suns out last year in so Game awesome. 7, a 50-point drubbing at one point. So, I'm as a Mavs fan, as we are, we even if we don't have as much talent, right? Knowing Luka's on the court, it always gives you a little glimmer of
hope. And his game will
right?
age well because he's only 23 and he has he doesn't use athleticism. So he's going to age well into the future. And even if he has a bad injury, and that kind of segues us into our number 2 guy who's exactly the same.
That's right. The back-to-back MVP, Nikola Jokic, the Nuggets man I think that he's going to be breathing a sigh of relief now that Murray and Porter Jr. are back. But with that said, even with his cast last year, Dad, he put up 27 on 58% from the field, 33 from downtown, 14 boards, 8 dimes. You could argue he's the best passer in the league.
Yeah.
His vision is incredible, especially for his size. Never makes a mistake usually. And I think his defense is better than what a lot of people
a lot better in defensive
give him credit for.
Defensive analytics play that out. His three-point percentage dropped 5% last year, but here's the reason why. Remember, he has the ball in his hands all the time. There's no one else to have it. And when the shot clock's down and there's no one cutting, there's no one moving, he has to jack up a 3. And that explains that. Trey, I do believe he'd have to average 50 and 25 to win a third MVP in a row because that's just not what we do. But number 1, and this was an easy choice, and this so far has been everyone's choice that I've seen. Who we got at 1?
We got Giannis Antetokounmpo, of course, for the Milwaukee Bucks. I mentioned earlier that had Middleton not be injured, we might be thinking, hey, is Giannis and the Bucks going for a 3-peat this year? I think that very well might have happened. The thing with Giannis, Dad, only plays about 33 minutes a game, but boy, does he make the most of it.
It's unbelievable.
Puts up 30 points, 55% from the field. Not known as a 3-point shooter.
But he'll take them.
29%
but at least
from downtown.
He'll take them.
Upped his free throws as well throughout his career.
Yeah, shot 72% last year.
So, that really, in that finals run that he had a couple years back, you shut the haters up. 11 and a half boards, 6 dimes, steal and a block. He's clearly, to me, just the impact that he has, Dad, on offense and defense. One of, you could argue he's, top 3 defensive player in the league.
Defensive player of the year a few years ago.
So, and just the impact that he has on that offensive end, just an absolute force. Very clearly number 1 for me. And honestly, I think, he's only, 26 as well. He keeps this resume up. You're looking at a potential top 10 player of all time.
You are. You just have to be, man. And I know he can't shoot real well from the outside. He's got some limitations in the playoffs when they pack the paint. But he figures out a way to get it done. He's one of my favorite players in the league. I don't watch him play, but he's one of my favorite players in the league because he has grinded. This guy's worked. This guy is what it's about. He's old school. The old guy's telling you this guy's old school. He just grinds it out, man. Stayed with Milwaukee. Takes personal responsibility whenever anything goes wrong on the
leader.
court. Yeah, true leader, and you just don't have that much. So that's it, Trey. I know, guys, this is a long video. We originally tried to keep it at 20 minutes. We realized it wasn't going to happen, guys. Instead of speeding through it, we just gave you an in-depth preview of everybody. Those are our top 100. Let us know what you think we got right. Let us know what you think we got wrong. Come on, Lakers fans. Let's go. I'm ready. And we're going to have more videos. We're going to do a season preview. It won't be this long, I don't think, but it'll probably be pretty long. We're going to do videos throughout the season. They'll be much, much shorter. But Trey, thank you for joining me on this journey.
Oh, it was a blast. Always fun to discuss and debate where everybody is. And by the time we're recording this, only a couple weeks away from the season. I'm ready.
Week and a half, baby. So give this a thumbs up and hit the subscribe. I know we're a music channel, but there's going to be NBA content up probably every week. And we're probably going to offshoot another channel. Let us know your thoughts on that. And until next time, guys, we will see you.